Subscribe or bear the hatred of the Uchiha. Wake up to reality.
Real quick, before we start the video, I have a Discord now. So if you guys are interested in anime discussions or anything from 2K, GTA RP, it doesn't really matter. If you want to be included in giveaways, definitely join my Discord to get all the latest news with this channel. What is good, YouTube? It's your boy Sho with another video, and today we're talking about Castlevania. Yes, Castlevania Nocturne. It just wrapped up season 2 not too long ago, and I kind of want to talk about it because I haven't really made videos on Castlevania or any like the Netflix anime projects, right? So Devil May Cry will be coming out, and then we had the whole couple of seasons of the original Castlevania anime, and then we have Nocturne now, which is like the sequel that is just wrapped up with season 2. Let me say this. When the original Castlevania came out, I think they had like a really shortened first season. It was a couple episodes, and then they came out the second season. I didn't get on to Castlevania until late. To me, I was in the era of it's really hard to make video games into great adaptations, and I feel like over the recent years, this has been proven very wrong. Because not only do we have shows like Castlevania, which is fire by the way, we have Fallout, which is a live action series adapted from the Fallout games, and that was great. Arcane, let's not forget about Arcane. So right now we've kind of been on the roll. I say all that to say this though. When I watched the original Castlevania, I fell in love with it immediately. I thought it was a great anime. I thought it was different than other anime, right? Because I mean, depending on how you want to call it, whether it's not an anime because it's made in a different place or not, it definitely has those anime aesthetics that I feel like make it really, really good. If you're not familiar with Castlevania though, it follows the story of the Belmonts. The Belmonts are basically vampire hunters, and their job is to kill the main bad vampire himself, Dracula. In the original Castlevania series, we kind of take a point of view from Dracula himself. He falls in love, gets married, his wife gets burned at the stake, she gets murdered, and Dracula basically wants revenge. He has pretty much cursed the whole place of Wallachia. I don't really know. I think it's Wallachia. He's pretty much put a whole curse on them. He said, I'll come back in a year and pretty much destroy all this. They didn't take him seriously, so he showed them that they needed to be taken seriously. Brought a whole bunch of night hell creatures with him, and they basically ravaged the place. And now the story follows Trevor. He's a Belmont, one of the last Belmonts, because the clan itself has been kind of thinning out due to a lot of unforeseen circumstances. And it's Trevor, Sypha, and Alucard. Now, Alucard is Dracula's son. He's a half vampire. I believe they call it a Dhampir. And we follow them as they are our 3 main pivotal characters, and you see them fight Dracula and other things beyond that. So that's pretty much the general synopsis of the original Castlevania. If you haven't seen it and you're just watching this video to see how I felt about Nocturne, definitely go watch that. That's definitely worth it. I'm not gonna lie. So let's talk about Nocturne. So I think around like 300 years later, so it's been a couple centuries, we have a new Belmont character. This is Richter Belmont. Now I actually knew about Richter before I knew about Trevor. I've never really been a big person in the Castlevania community as far as like playing the games, because I used to play the games back on like a lot of the older systems, but I really didn't even know it was Castlevania. But that style of game I've definitely played a lot. Like I've played a lot of Castlevania games. I don't really remember any of the story from any of them. I was younger when I played them. I remember like going back and looking at the timeline for the Belmont history. This is even before the show even released. And I was a fan of Leon Belmont. Like I just got to know the whole story. Now Richter was in Smash. He was a Smash Bros character. Before I knew about anything Castlevania, I used to love playing with him. He was one of my favorite characters to play with. And it was him and Simon. And I always thought it was cool that they included the Castlevania characters themselves. I always thought it was awesome. But in a sense, you can kind of say he was my favorite Belmont, only because I really only knew him through Smash. I thought he looked cool. I liked playing with him. He was fun to play with. So he was my favorite. So it's kind of crazy to now see him becoming an actual anime character himself. And boy, did he not disappoint. Now I think with season 1, because we'll go about season 1 really quickly. I'm talking about the whole Nocturne, just Castlevania, because I haven't really talked about this much, right? So I think in season 1, I ended up dropping this show in season 1. I think I was suffering from it's not a Trevor syndrome, because I think Trevor made an impression as a main character. Like he to me was like the de facto Belmont, and I think that caused me to kind of not like Richter, because I felt like in the beginning half of season 1 he really didn't have much to do or say, and I felt like the actual like anime itself was just kind of off. It just felt really off. I don't know why. Like, I don't know if it's animation or the way things were drawn. It just did not feel like Castlevania. I felt like somebody else had made something that was using Castlevania's name, and it just wasn't right. But I feel like what I didn't realize is that, you know, Trevor himself, when we see him, he's already kind of an established vampire hunter. With Richter, he's also an established vampire hunter, but he's not really, he's like a teenage boy. He really hasn't come into his power. We know that the Belmont bloodline got intensely stronger because Trevor and Cypher had a kid. Cypher was a magician, and the Belmonts were already fire. But we never really got to see much of that because his magic was kind of blocked in the beginning half of season 1. I felt like that later half of season 1 really picked up for me, because I ended up rewatching it when season 2 came out. I was like, yeah, I just need to watch the whole thing from start to finish. I ended up watching season 1, at least the whole thing from start to finish, and I actually really ended up liking it. Even like the last fights and towards the end, and the reveal that Alucard was down there, like all of that stuff was kind of fire. I'm definitely glad I went back and rewatched season 1, because I could have skipped but season 2, but it would have made no sense if I didn't know the story. But I really like how everything with that wrapped up. I remember being quite bored in like the first couple episodes of season 1, and I'm really glad that I actually was able to follow through years later. Now, talk about season 2, which is what I really want to talk about. This season was immaculate. It was just something about it, like the animation itself, the fights, like even just regular fights against random throwaway vampires was absolutely fire. I think one thing I love about the way they animate Castlevania is it feels like no part of the animation is just like phoned in. Like when you see Richter fight, it seems like it's like every hit or point of contact is like used. It's a weird way to kind of explain it, right? But like you see like a monster or vampire with like a whole bunch of tentacles and they're like lashing out. You see Richter blocking each one of the tentacles with like a little patch of ice. Like if you go back and watch fights and stuff, you'll see like him ice little parts of his body to like block the hits. And the way he uses all his techniques, it just feels so fluid. It feels like it's an actual fight. Speaking of actual fights, let's get to the main point of why I even wanted to make this video. Now, I've already spoiled a lot, so I think at this point, you know, spoiling one is really not necessary. We're gonna talk about the last final fights. I like how they handle Alucard, because we know that Alucard is intensely powerful, right? We know that he's a really strong character, but it seems like he was struggling against some fights between certain characters. And I'm kind of glad that they gave him like a I'm not even really trying type of moment, because when he actually tried, he was actually fighting the big boss, the big bad, by himself. You know what I'm saying? Like he was going crazy. Because my whole thing is that he kind of struggled against Dralta when she got brought back, and it just felt like that wasn't really realistic, because considering that he's the son of the most powerful vampire that ever exists. But granted, I mean, the villain had the power of Sekhmet and Sun God Ra and all that, so I mean she was something that was different than a vampire. But understandably, it just felt like Alucard was just kind of holding back, and it made a lot of sense once you watch the whole thing. Once he went into his little blood rage mode, it was raps. You know, he was strong. He could have been beat Dralta. So speaking of that final fight, Elizabeth Bathory, who I heard is actually modeled after a real person, which is crazy. She becomes the Sun God Ra's daughter, Sekhmet, whatever. I'm not too familiar about like the Egyptian gods. I think they're Egyptian. I think Ra's Egyptian. And that final fight between Richter and Marie, it's so much I could talk about. Like I could do a whole section on Marie. I might do that, because I really want to get into her character too. Juiced. That fight between all of them was absolutely fire. Seeing Richter just become like the most badass character when he just didn't really have much of a plot line in season 1, him becoming like the scared kid of the guy that killed his mother, like to become one of the most badass characters in the whole entire Castlevania franchise was insane. Also seeing like the nostalgia of Alucard working with another Belmont, I thought was really cool. Like one of my favorite anime is JoJo, and I feel like in JoJo's they deal with this a lot, like his family and legacy, and you know, being passed, and the legacy being passed down from one to another. I feel like Castlevania definitely could have that JoJo type of run, like 6-7 seasons of just doing straight Belmont stuff. That'd be cool. But no, honestly, this video is getting really long, and I don't want to drag on. I want to make little separate, smaller videos for different topics, but just know this anime is fire. You should definitely check it out. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.